everyone, so today we are going to be making these beautiful borax crystals. Some supplies we'll be using today are borax. This 4-pound box cost me about $5 at Walmart. I will be using one of these skewers. I'll be using food coloring. You'll need some pipe cleaners. They're also known as chenille stems. These we'll use later for the base. Some thread, scissors, and I have a very tall pot here I'll be using on my stovetop. I used to use this shorter pot, but it wasn't deep enough, causing the crystals to stick on the bottom, so I ended up upgrading to this super large, tall pot. So let's get started. So first, I am removing one that I made yesterday, and I'm going to set that on some paper towel here and let it dry. So the process is very similar to if you're reusing the same water you used before, or if you're starting a whole fresh batch. So if you're starting a whole fresh batch, you'll want to pour in a decent amount of water, at least if you're able to at least 6 inches deep, depending on your pan. And then you'll want to boil that, and then you'll want to pour in your borax as much as you can repeatedly until it will no longer absorb any more borax. And you'll add in your food coloring as well. When you're boiling your first batch of water, it should boil pretty fast. When you're doing a second batch, like you're reusing the water, it usually takes a little bit longer, but the crystals actually in the end turn out better when you're reusing the water. They turn out like bigger, chunkier, cloudier crystals, which is a good thing. After making a crystal, there's a lot of crystals formed on the bottom of your pot. If you're completely just done with your batch of water, you're not going to make another crystal, and you just want to clean your pan, what you'll want to do is boil that water again, get that crystal lifted up off of there before you ditch the water. Because otherwise, after you're finished making a crystal, you have a ton of crystal formations on the bottom of your pot. So I went ahead, started boiling some of this water. So I'm going ahead and stirring, and I'm still seeing a bunch of these crystal chunks from before. If you wanted, you could go ahead and save them, which I might just do with this one here. But normally I just let them boil out until they're just non-existent. I do want to point out, especially if you're using one of the shorter pans, your stove will be a mess. About a week and a half ago, I started making these with the shorter pan, and prior to that, I completely deep cleaned the top of my stovetop. It was beautiful. Within a week, it was completely so dirty. I ended up cleaning it, and within a few days, you can already see it's getting dirty again from doing this. But the cleanup isn't too bad. It's just you gotta clean your stove. My water is finally fully boiled through, and it pretty much just looks like water. I've shut off the gas, so now what I'm going to do is start pouring in borax. And I'm kind of just going to pour in a lot. You have to be careful with this stuff. You want to make sure you don't get it in your eyes. If you have any food sitting up on the stove, you'll want to move that. You don't want to risk that getting into your food. Okay. I'll probably need more than what I've put in, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a stir. So I've stirred it good, and if you look, the water's still pretty clear besides it having a color to it. I will show you how you know once you have enough. So I'm going to go ahead and add a lot more borax. So now that I know that I have enough borax, is because when I lift this up, you see how there's still some borax sitting there? Because there's too much to be absorbed fully into the water, and that's how you want it. While I'm waiting for that to boil, I'm going to go ahead and build my form. This is the structure that the crystals are going to be forming onto. You'll probably want to use about 2 or 3 of these, and either in the color of white or the color of food coloring you're using. If you use the white one, your crystal comes out lighter, like a lighter version of that color, seemingly like clearer. If you're using a food dye color, then it'll turn out like a darker form of that color, which I actually kind of like, but it kind of really varies on what type of pipe cleaners you have. Okay, so you'll need pipe cleaners for this, or Chanel stems as they're called. So I kind of just took one, kind of built a basic form. So I went ahead, used up the rest of my pipe cleaners, weaved them in and out, in and out. The leftover I weaved through here, and then I tied my string on. Okay, so I've been using, for this batch, I've been using green. I initially actually started it at yellow, but I gradually moved it towards green, and now I'm going to gradually move it towards blue. So I might get a little bit of a teal color starting now, and then eventually make my way to blue. You just gotta be very careful. You can't go from red to green or yellow to purple. You don't want to use complementary colors opposite of the color wheel. You just want to stick with colors that are near each other, or analogous colors. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. You'll normally want to add about 20 drops of food coloring. You don't need as many when you're redoing a batch, but I'm just going to add a little bit more color because there's still a lot of green in there. So I'm going to add a little bit more blue, and I'm going to give that a little bit of a stir. Now we have all the borax and all the food coloring in there. I want it to be at about 1 inch below the surface of the water. If that, you don't want to see it popping out a little bit, but you also want it to be, I don't know, about 2 inches away from the bottom of the pot, at least. That way it doesn't stick to the bottom of the pot. And then you'll go ahead, tie it right there. So now that I have that in there, I'm going to go ahead and cover this up, and then I'm going to wait. The reason why we want to keep the lid on this is to keep it from cooling down too fast. We want it to cool down very slowly. That'll help the crystals form better. I'm going to go ahead and put this on the back burner, and I'll be back in 8 hours. I usually like to do a batch in the morning and then do a batch right before bed. I was able to pull this out. Now that it's done, I let this set for some extra time, so I've got a really gigantic crystal here. I can go ahead and cut off the string. I'll cut it off very close to the top here, so that way you don't see much of the string. Please post your photos of your end results down in the comments if you happen to try this at home. Please like and subscribe, and comment down below what you would like to see next. Take care.